Promotional marketing, by the way, thanks to them. I think this is about where they are in their logo. We're grateful to them for their swag and everything. You ought to go to them for all your promotional needs for your business, for your church, your youth group, women's group, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, women's, because we doing stuff.
So invest in the city and the kingdom. Go to ScrantonRoadMinistries.org or ScrantonRoadPromo.org for more. It's Follow-Up Friday.
Yes, ladies, register for the Renew webinar. I don't want you to be left out. Lots of people have been registering, and I love to see those names pop up, and I'm lost. Hold on, I got to find our page. Hi, Callie. Who else do you think is on? Go. Go, go, go. Deborah's on.
Viola.
Mike is on. Viola. I'm sure you're on. I'm going to go. Hold on. See? Look.
Would you do your job?
What you got planned for? Oh, tell him what you got planned for the weekend.
My wife
Pray for him, please.
is doing a weekend away finally. I've been for years trying to get this woman to, she works so hard to take a break away from everybody, especially this one. I mean, can you imagine?
Hello. Can I get an amen? Type amen, everybody. Woo!
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine what she goes through on a daily basis with all this? So she's taking a weekend away. I'll be hanging with the kids this weekend. We're going back to the movies. The movies opened up this week, so we're going to go see a movie tomorrow. Excited about that.
With all 5 kids. Woo!
Yeah, it's the little ones giving them enough candy and hoping they don't have to go to the bathroom.
That's what I was going to say. When they got to go to the bathroom.
I have to actually coach myself with the little ones at movies where I go, Brian, you're going to miss a very important part of this movie.
Exactly. Just tell you so.
Just know, Brian, there'll be an important part. And that moment is when your son will have to go to the bathroom uncontrollably.
Every time.
And then when you get to the bathroom, he'll go, never mind, I don't have to go.
And they do that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But we'll see.
What's up, Mike? Kiki? What's up, Kiki? Pamela says, good morning. What's up, Tammy? And Mary says hello. YouTube, I see y'all watching. Why don't y'all say hi? Y'all don't say good morning. You know what YouTube people do? They just sit there.
You got 2 comments on YouTube.
Oh, Woofy says amen. Thank you. Y'all were listening. And Marcy says, Viernes. Feliz Viernes. Woo, Marcy. Man, YouTube is on fire today. Tina says, good morning. Wonderful discussion this morning. It got real.
Why don't you tell them what was going on?
That's what I'm saying. We were talking about, first of all, we started by reviewing topics. We only got through a day because we got to one of the topics we talked about, which was 9 things that boys need to hear from their dads. And so there we kind of explored generational, some people call them generational curses, but really it's like negative cycles that are in our families, and how some people like get over it or end it and some people don't. And so we started talking about that. And you know, when you have an environment where you model getting real, it welcomes others to do the same thing. That's been my experience in my friendships, or if you got a Bible study, like I was going to tell you, because I said, man, Brian, he did a great job at sharing his own. He did a great job sharing his own past and some of his struggles, which I want to talk about a little bit because he's doing an awesome project. But I was like, man, you should have we talked about, that's what it was, rehab. No, what is it? What's galvanized?
It's a recovery ministry.
Recovery ministries and groups, and how they do a great job at doing that. People introduce themselves and start off by saying, this is what I struggle with, and how the church should do that more. Can you imagine a Bible study where people did that? Like before you even start, you go around and say, hey, I'm struggling with such and such.
Hey, I'm Brian, and I'm very prideful, and I seek validation too often.
Man, we do the opposite. We straight up sit up in church like we got it all together. Like we're Miss Holy and we're all blessed and favored. And we are. Yeah. But we're hurting and we're struggling. And so Brian did that, and it set the stage and the atmosphere. And I was saying, if we're going to have a Bible study, or if you want a friendship like that, you don't even have to tell people to do it. I think when you lead that way and open up that way or have that kind of attitude, it's like almost a switch with people. I think people are waiting for that. You know, and I think
they're hungry for it.
They're hungry for it.
Because they suffer alone.
People don't do it because we don't do it. You know, so people are always feeling, I'm the one struggling, or I'm the one that's all messed up, or there's something wrong with me. And I think it cheats the Bible. It cheats the gospel, because the gospel says We're all broken. We all desperately need Jesus. We fall short to God's glory. So as believers, we should be passionate about it. Sue says, sweet, sweet morning. When I listened to you both, the new Secret Garden got a good review from Focus on the Family. Brian, I even think the older ones would like it.
Maybe, but Sue, here's my problem. When I see the word garden in a movie title, I'm already sleepy. If I see it's made by Marvel or there's like explosions or superheroes, I'm excited. And I don't know any superheroes that spend any time in a garden. So I'm not certain I'm going to be in that garden, but you go ahead. My kids and I are going to see New Mutants.
Oh my goodness. Mutant. That's a Marvel, right?
Yeah, it's a Marvel movie. Yeah.
Lynn says, where can I find info on the Facebook concert tonight? I couldn't find anything on WCRF.
We're going to stream it on our Facebook page. Kelly, I don't...
Yeah. So this is what I would do is at 8:30 p.m. tonight, it's going to be on the Brian and Jannelle or the Moody Radio Cleveland Facebook page. Sometimes with live videos, you may need to refresh it. So
yeah, just start refreshing the page at 8:30 on our Facebook page. It'll be right there. Right here. Yeah.
Brian, way too vulnerable today, Tara says. Way too vulnerable. You're sharing everything. Can you share a little of your story and how we were talking about how it's connected? Our past, our family past is connected to our present. And if we don't acknowledge it and process it, we limit what God can do as we move forward. Do you want to lead? Go ahead, start.
Well,
I just don't know what to do.
I'm assuming you're being silly. I'd be curious to know which parts you thought were the most vulnerable.
Seriously?
That interest you.
Oh, Tara.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tara. I'd be curious to know. One of the reasons I got into ministry, radio ministry in particular, is I was so sick of hearing from people that sounded like what they were doing is teaching me from a place of perfection. They only share their triumphs. They would talk about what they've learned from the Bible that's made their life so great. And I would listen to it and feel embarrassed because I'm not there, or I can't do that, or I'm struggling in an area. I would be frustrated by what seemed like arrogance, a place of arrogance.
Yeah.
And then I got into Christian radio from a producer's perspective, and I remember hearing like segments go and the right answer is given, and they're like, and now here's Chris Tomlin. Mics turn off, and then the real conversations would happen off air, where hosts would be vulnerable, they'd say what they really think. And I just was compelled by that problem, that we don't have people in positions in public ministry that are being truly honest and vulnerable about their own shortcomings, their own struggles, as they journey with Christ. Because they're afraid of being criticized or being viewed as weak. And for whatever reason, God brought the two of us together, and I'm telling you, we can't pretend. Like,
Even if we wanted to.
I can't fake it.
Yeah, no.
I got so many issues. If you knew them all, you'd lobby for me to be fired, because we're in cancel culture right now.
Yes.
So I keep some things private just so I can keep my job.
Yeah.
But,
and it's not like you're not living in sin. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
not
there's
like
some
willfully
stuff
living
that's
in
like, dude, you got to handle that. But we're constantly struggling. There's stuff that you come to the Lord again. It's like, God, I'm sorry. There are areas in our lives that we just, that become kind of like the thorn in the flesh was for Paul.
Yeah, you just can't seem to shake it.
Yeah.
Did Tara tell you anything about which one?
Tara says it's about your grandfather. That was a genuine comment. And you said, in terms of what it could look like with sin or struggle, your grandfather and your dad and emotions. Can you repeat that? Like what it's manifesting like in your life today as a dad?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of creating a podcast series. And I don't talk about this very much because it's not done yet. I don't know what's going to happen with it. Who knows if it'll ever come out. But yeah, we don't know.
I've heard it and it needs to come out. If I were y'all, I would protest if it doesn't.
Well,
it is good.
I have this thing where I'm a lover of podcasts, and I'm a consumer of podcasts, and my favorite ones are really the storytelling podcasts, whether it's a journalist telling a great story or just a storyteller telling a great story from their lives or from society or whatever it is. Stories are timeless. I mean, the Bible's full of great stories, The greatest story ever told, as a matter of fact. So I don't think we as Christians do as well with that. In fact, I feel like we've reduced ourselves to one story arc. If you're familiar with like writing and such, the story arc in Christendom is life is bad, I am terrible, my truck is broken, my football team's losing. And then you give your life to Jesus, and you live happily ever after, and the truck's fixed and the football team wins. That's theologically a disaster. It's not true about how life works. And it's kind of embarrassing. And it's like the only story we're able to tell is a salvation story arc, but the story of Christian life is about living in the midst of Christian faith with difficult issues. And so I've been in a journey personally to figure out why my grandfather disowned my side of the family. And really it was primarily a mystery for us over a seemingly insignificant incident when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And so I've been on a 4-year journey now. I've been working on this for 4 years. And what I've learned along the way has been truly overwhelming for my family and for me as we have uncovered the generational consequences of my grandfather's decision that was influenced by ultimately his father's decisions and what he went through. I discovered in this that my grandpa, who disowned us, when he was like early 20s, his grandfather and his dad died within 6 months of each other. His wife died at the age of 60 before I was born. And those losses can damage you to the point that render you almost incapable of certain things. And that's had generational consequence in my family. And it's forced me to grapple with my own struggles today that are a consequence of that. So, Lord willing, I can help. It's an intensely personal journey.
Yes, it is. The podcast is amazing, so stay tuned. And I made a mistake, and Kelly's helping me with this. Kelly said, Tara didn't say you were too vulnerable. She said way to be vulnerable.
Oh, I thought you said way too.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Tara, no, I'm not. It's no big deal.
Yeah. I love that he did that because a lot of our calls were men. And I think, if with your permission, I think men struggle going there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? I've had personal relationships, men that I love, that even when you bring it up, it's like they push it away. I don't know what it is. It's like a fear of getting to that, to like the core of the issue, you know, and it's something maybe we can teach and help men with and encourage when it happens. And maybe it's connected to the fear of looking and feeling weak.
Yeah, I think it could be.
Yeah. And I love a lot of our calls were men.
Well, and this is where you and I don't have much in common, but one of our things we share intensely is our passion for vulnerability.
Yeah.
Because we feel it's so connected to the gospel.
Yeah. And it's where real ministry happens. It's when you get vulnerable and when you're transparent. Sara from Ecuador says, Buenos dias, guys. I want to say that Ron is one of my favorite parts of the show. Every time he chimes in, his word is spot on and an absolute encouragement.
Yep.
Happy anniversary of Brian and fill in the blank. Haha. I enjoyed Brian and Kathleen, and I enjoyed Brian and Jannelle. But I'm so glad Ron has also been an anchor in these last 5 years.
Yeah, to be honest, I said it on the air, I didn't know how important Ron was going to be to this ministry.
Yeah.
And he's become really an invaluable member of what we do. We really couldn't do a lot of it without him.
Yeah, he's amazing. Tara says, amen, brother. And Rebecca can't stay on, but she wants to say happy anniversary and thank everyone for the encouragement and sharing Jesus.
Thanks.
Judy, what's up, Judy? YouTube, I see you. Don't be quiet, y'all. And Marcy appreciates on YouTube. She says she appreciates your openness to Brian and that you keep it real.
I don't know how else to do it, because it's one of those that I've learned in recent years that if I truly believe the gospel, and the gospel is that I'm a sinner that's only saved through the blood of Christ, I've got to continually preach the gospel to myself and believe I need it. And if I believe I need it, I acknowledge I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
And if I can't openly discuss areas of struggle and sin, what good am I to the gospel?
Yeah. And then what we tell new believers, when I was a younger believer, less mature, whatever, you would see the quote-unquote more mature believers and wish you'll get there one day, thinking it's a destination, which is really a journey. Wonder, like, am I good?
Yeah.
Do I belong here? Because I'm messed up. They don't look messed up.
That's right.
and that's not good. Tara says, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before. A big way that helped me to drop my mask as a Christian was reading the book Daring Greatly by, I love her. How do you pronounce her name? The first one. Brene Brown. Highly recommended. She also has a ton of TED Talks. She's amazing. That you can watch if you're not into reading. I love her, but I've only seen a talk. I haven't read the book. But I love that she talks about vulnerability and teaching people how to be vulnerable.
Her primary audience is women, though, in her writing, isn't it?
It is.
I almost ordered one of her books this week because somebody else brought her up. But when I realized she was primarily speaking to women, I was like, well, maybe not that.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
Gary says, happy anniversary. And Ron is a branch to this wonderful radio station.
Oh, yeah.
Roy, what's up? Says, real ministries became real when you're real. When you're real. Oh, yeah. Great comment, Jannelle.
Oh, wow. Did you actually say it like that?
I said real ministry happens when you get real.
His quote of you is better than what you said.
Say it. How do you...
Real ministries become real when you're real.
Ooh, awesome. I'm going to quote that and I'm going to put my name on it. If my son who wants to get into communications, he would be like 10, 11 and would say something and I'd be like, ooh, that was good. He'd be like, quote me on Facebook. He said that for years, like, always wanted to be quoted on Facebook. I was going to say about reading women, one of the things, I have 4 boys first and then 2 girls, and I homeschool. And maybe this isn't connected to Brene Brown, but I like reading stories where the girl is a main character to them. Mm-hmm. And I think it does something about them being empathic and understanding. You don't think there's something about that, men reading women or reading about women?
Yeah, sure. I think it's important.
Because people always assume, when I've seen homeschoolers talking about literature, it's always like, oh, it's a boy. Let me find a book about a boy. And there's been, like, my boys read through with me American Girls. And I just think it does something, and it's subtle. But I think but I don't know. That doesn't mean you got to go read Brene Brown.
No, but I mean, it's important for us to,
I
think, learn from someone of the opposite gender. Like, one of the mentors in my spiritual life has been Nancy Kane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She is just a wise sage who loves Jesus, and I called her last week for advice.
Yeah. Yeah, you love her. She's amazing. Yeah. Tara says our leadership group read her and the men identified with the book too.
Oh, really? Okay. No, that's good to hear.
Yeah. Mike says Ron, Kelly, Josh, Mike, Paul, you all are great and make the station a great success. Marcy, what's up? Marcy says more Ron. And Tina agrees. Tina says, I thought that was interesting too. That was many of the callers were men. It has helped me view men in a different way. So many of the men in my life are not that open or vulnerable.
It's really scary for men to do that.
What are you afraid of? What are men afraid of?
Being, labeled as sissy, being embarrassed, being wrong, being viewed as weak. Not that those are right things to be afraid of, but they are things that we're afraid of.
Yeah.
And I think the more you search into your family story, I think a lot of men lack the vocabulary of even how to do it because their dad didn't do it and their grandpa didn't do it. Nobody got vulnerable. In fact, one of the things I've learned from Nancy Kane is about family systems, and there's one kind of dysfunctional family system in which nobody ever talks about anything hard.
Oh.
And in that type of dysfunctional system, you just don't develop a vocabulary for emotional intelligence or vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It's not that there isn't a desire to do it. It's just not only are they afraid to do it, but they don't know how.
Yeah. About hard things. One of the hard and scary things that should happen is exploring what you said, our family past. That can be scary. Based on your journey, is it something that we should all do?
Yeah.
And why? Like, why is it worth it? Like, what have you learned about? Like, because you're kind of in between. There's been times that you're like, man, I don't know if I should have done this. I kind of feel bad. Sometimes you feel like some things are just better left alone. Is it worth it?
I think so. Our God is a God of reconciliation and a God of forgiveness and a God of honesty and truth speaking, and I think that he expects us to do the same in our lives. And life can't really be lived to the fullest when you don't do those things. You can't truly know God if you're not exercising those qualities He has. I'm thinking out loud.
Forgiveness and all that.
Yeah.
So there's a man in my life that's sort of close, and I asked, we were talking about struggles with your mom, and I'm like, have you ever brought it up? And it's like, is it worth it? Like, it damages her. You know, the healing can happen, but you take a risk. Would you encourage people listening now? Yeah, go sit with, if you can, people of different generations in your family and bring stuff up.
I think
Ask
it depends.
questions.
I think it depends. I think you got to seek some advice first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm doing this podcast series on my grandfather, and the journey started with an email I sent to my parents in November of 2016 asking their permission to explore it.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
And I didn't start until I had their blessing to explore this disownment from my grandfather. And so there may be some things that you really, it takes wisdom. Because there are certain things that it won't do any good. It will just crush people.
Yeah.
But I think, and you need to check your motives. Is your heart's motive truly for forgiveness and reconciliation? If that's your heart motive, I think you could be in the right place. But if you just want to expose somebody for being nasty, what good is that going to do?
Yeah.
You hurt me!
Yeah. And like we said today, you can forgive people without the person asking for forgiveness. Holy Living, what's up? On YouTube says, what's the podcast called? Hello, Brian. Duh.
It's
like
not
you need
released
to.
yet.
You haven't even. Well, the podcast.
Well, we're the Brian and Jannelle podcast.
Yes, I'll share the link so you can check it out. But the series of episodes he's talking about has not been released.
Yeah.
So I'll share it right there. Holy Living. Look at that, and then you can. We release episodes every Friday at 10, and then as soon as Brian drops the story of his family, we'll let you guys know.
So far it's 5 parts, and I'm still working on finalizing part 4 and part 5. So I wouldn't guess it's probably not going to be released till sometime this fall.
Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't have brought it up. You brought it up.
No, we want to. Like, people need to get ready.
And I'm intentionally not sharing much because I don't want to ruin the whole thing.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Pamela says, I had absolutely the best Bible study last night. We start with praise reports and then prayer requests. It really opens people up. That's a good point. Jennifer says, when we read the Odysseys...
Odysseus.
Wow.
When we read the Odyssey, Odysseus
weeps more than once. My daughter asks, when did this become unmanly? Who is more manly than Odysseus?
Wow. What a great question. How old was your daughter when she asked you that?
Jennifer's awesome. Yeah, how old was she, Jennifer?
Yeah, that is I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, Jesus wept, for crying out loud, openly in front of people that he knew and people he didn't know.
So when did, well, I guess you don't, because you talk about masculinity a lot and what we've done with it today. When do you think this has become a thing?
We've created some really, 15. Wow. 15, Jennifer. Wow. Really insightful for a 15-year-old. That's a really hard thing to answer, Jannelle. I've traced some of wrong conceptions of manliness to late 70s, but 80s and 90s pushback against homosexuality becoming a norm in society and an acceptable thing. I think Christians have responded to that by trying to make sure nothing seems gay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so
That's true.
if it's somehow decided that effeminate men cry, then real Christian men don't. That's part of it. But some of the stuff comes from like the 50s, 1950s and before, where there was, I think, an inability of men to be emotionally available.
Yeah.
What caused that? I just don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
So it's not just a modern thing.
Yeah. Well, we are...
Chris was asking about tonight's concert, right?
Yes. Concert tonight, 8:30 on the Brian and Jannelle Show. Share it and jam, live worship. Awesome artists like CeCe Winans, I'll mention my favorite, CeCe Winans, Hillsong I love, Kirk Franklin, and others. It's like a long list, 9 of which have received the Dove Awards this year, and it's all free right here. And make it an event for the family. Goodness, like, we need events since we can't go nowhere. Pamela says, half an hour is way too short. Have an awesome week. We love y'all. If you're on YouTube right now, click that button and subscribe so you can hang with us every day. Yvonne on YouTube, what's up? She says, I'm a YouTube fan for sure.
Yes.
Brian, I agreed so much when you said we Christians need to be real and take off our masks and be honest with who we are. Yes, we do.
That's what you get with us, whether you like it or not.
That's right.
Because she's a mess.
I am a mess. And some people can't handle that. When I share that, especially with non-believers, some people get scared.
Len even kind of goes, what are you doing sharing all that junk?
He tells me, he said, you share too much. Oh my gosh. Ferg, I haven't seen your name before. You're on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Says, good morning, Brian and Jannelle. Thank you for your show here. Ferg, subscribe. If you're on Facebook and you want to be awesome, why don't you share us on your page? Holy Living says, my husband and I have been married for 21 years, and it's only been within the last year that he has been able to openly examine his feelings, recognize that he has them, and is learning to process them. That is so awesome, and it is a journey. I've had that journey with Len. We have it on my side of the family. It's easy, like it happens. But there was a time years ago where he was sitting with his uncle and asked for the first time about his grandfather's family, and like there were questions and things that happened. Like asking your parents' sibling stuff will reveal things that's like powerful. That happened, and then I shared before for Christmas. It was pre-planned. All the kids were there, grandchildren, and we interviewed, but it turned into an organic conversation. The grandparents, and Len learned about his mom things he never knew, and it involves her and her childhood. But it just helped them. There was healing. It wasn't like, it wasn't like necessarily forgiveness that was necessary. It was like, wow, I get it. Why you were the way you were. Even the kids were like, no wonder Nana loves to like give gifts. You know, like you get to understand a person more.
I think it becomes easier to extend grace.
Yes.
When you know someone's story.
Yes. So yeah, hopefully you'll do that. Take the weekend to do that. We love y'all.
Hello, goodbye to you, David.
Hello, goodbye.
Peace.
Hey, David, he's all about Brian.
Why wouldn't he be?
A little more. He's like, you do.
He doesn't need more. He's on my team. We're not needy like that. Actually, I'm probably the most needy person in the world.
I know. Bye, YouTube.
All right, we out.
Oh, look, Ferg. Bye, Ferg. We love you.